Live. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome to our Friday Lives. Glad that you're here. Glad that we are here.
Exactly.
Um, this will be a continuation and a wrapping up of the series that we've been doing for the last,
5 weeks.
today's week 5, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
About the cost of awakening. Um, talking about responsibility, talking about burdens, um, the human experience, and how does and where does spirituality fit in that context of it all. And today will be a continuation of that. You'll be going in slightly a little bit deeper about uh, commitments, the gravity of that, archetypes of what does it look like for a mature human adult.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we'll discuss some of that. And then commitments and responsibility and how that can show up for maybe finding our own calling, if you
Yeah.
want to call it that. We'll find a different language, I guess, that we talk, that we can use during the questions that come up. So today will be kind of like a wrapping up of these ideas that we've been discussing for the last 5 weeks, or the last 4 weeks. But maybe before we begin,
Oh,
dun, dun, dun,
yes.
get
Let's do
some
it.
divination, I guess.
100 Divinations for Uncertain Days by Maria Popova. Okay.
We've been doing these, using these cards for the last, I think, 3 times. Or I don't know if last
I'll
time
let
we
you-
did it, because last time,
No, we did it. We did it last time.
really?
I think so. Yeah.
I thought like we didn't find it, it wasn't here.
No,
And
we definitely did it.
oh,
Because remember we read about the well, we always read about the birds, but like the
All the
narrow
cards,
or wide way, the way of impossibility
oh, that's
is
right.
wider than you would think it to be.
The
Or the way of
possibility is wider.
yes,
Yeah, that impossibility is just a narrow thread in the
exactly,
sea of possibilities.
exactly.
Yeah, I do remember that. Okay. Damn, it's like it's a lot to like spread, I guess.
I asked my mother one time, like, "Mom, if you were an animal, like 3 animals, which would you choose?" And I don't remember the other
Picking
two,
one for me.
but one animal she chose was a peacock.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, made me think of that pulling these cards since there are all these different birds. I
I
wonder
wonder
if
if there's a
fit.
peacock in here.
Probably so, maybe, right?
I don't know.
It's just such a
It has some
beautiful bird.
yeah, and it has like spiritual symbology, at least within that Zoroastrianism.
Really?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
I don't necessarily know too much.
Oh.
And within a subset called Yazidiya or something
Uh-huh.
like that.
Which one's yours? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. This one. Yeah, peacock. Okay, you want to go first?
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is a photo of a ruby threaded hummingbird. A ruby threaded hummingbird. And it says, "Blessed is the person who delights in seeing the inner child in everyone and the magic in all creatures, who does not shun difficulty and can turn with equal reverence toward sorrows and joy, who can trust fear as the balsam of courage and pain as an instrument for opening the heart, who can pause to notice the delicate luster of a lichen and the undulation of the light, who dares to make hope an axiom of being and is strong enough to be changed by love. I got to look up a few of those words, but
Whoa.
it's definitely still gorgeous.
Hmm. I feel like this will probably get back to this card in reference to the archetypes
Mm-hmm.
in adults,
Mm-hmm.
awakened adults, or something like that,
Hmm.
because it's a topic that we'll
Yeah.
get into, and it seems like it's fitting to that because it's painting the wide spectrum of not just emotions, but the receptivity
Yeah.
of them and the allowance of them, and talking about perception.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like all of these things.
Exactly. She does an amazing job of really touching on the human condition, but not putting it into a cage, like
Yeah.
giving the human condition wings, which is interesting because the theme across all the cards is birds, but she really does that. I wonder if that is intentional in
What is?
terms of like the relationship between each card has this really depth of the human condition that it showcases,
Mm-hmm.
but is always um, the person is never entrapped,
Boxed in. Yeah.
yeah, by the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
There's always you know
Yeah.
flight from the
Yeah.
deepest
And these
despair.
birds are like wild birds, not birds in a cage.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. Should I check those words before you read?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So the words that I don't know is which one? Oh, BALSM means, and what's the pronunciation? Okay. Balsam. Balsam. Balsam is a fragrant, sticky resin that comes from certain trees and shrubs.
Mm.
It contains natural acids and has a sweet, woody smell. Oh,
Oh.
okay.
Oh. And oh, I know it in Arabic.
What is it?
Same.
Same.
Balsam.
Oh, balsam. Hmm. Okay. And the next word that I did not know is lichen. You know that word, lichen?
Like a something.
Huh? No. Lichen, if I'm saying it correctly. Lichens.
What is that voice?
Why I say it like that, right? A lichen is a unique composite organism formed from a tight symbiotic partnership between a fungus and a photosynthetic partner.
Mm.
Hmm, wow. Such as a green algae or cyanobacteria.
Mm-hmm.
The fungus provides a protective structure and absorbs water, while the algae produces food through sunlight. Oh wow, it's interesting. And was there another word? Oh yeah, undulations. Undulations. Undulation. Oh, undulation. Undulation is a smooth, continuous movement or shape that rises and falls like waves on a sea.
Mm.
It comes from the Latin word for wave. It can describe physical motion, a wavy surface, or curving outline. Interesting. So, just one more time. Blessed is the person who delights in seeing the inner child in everyone and the magic in all creatures, who does not shun difficulty and can turn with equal reverence towards sorrow and joy, who can trust fear as the balsam of courage and pain as an instrument for opening the heart, who can pause to notice the delicate luster of the lichen and the undulation of the light, who dares to make hope an axiom of being and is strong enough to be changed by love. Incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Okay. Mine is a picture of American. I don't know what that says. What does that say?
Mm. Pawn. I think it's Pwan.
There's a
Or
W there?
fawn, maybe fawn. Oh yeah, fawn.
Uh-huh.
F
Oh,
U
A.
A N or
Oh.
FWAN?
Hmm. This one says, the most immense danger is to live with a leaden heart, always on guard against being wounded, to make of the world an anxious projection, to remain asleep through the daybreak of possibility, never touching the great body of the unknown, sleeping alongside, never willing to take a chance on change. For the only heart that can be broken is the heart too ossified to open to the full range of feeling.
Wow.
What does ossified?
I think it's like calcified.
Calcified?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I should check anyway, though. How do you spell it, bro?
Ossified.
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 Ossified means turned into bone, hardened like bone, or made rigid and inflexible. It describes physical tissue changes or stubborn, outdated habits and ideas that cannot change. Wow.
They're like on point.
Mm-hmm.
The most immense danger is to live with a leaden heart, always on guard against being wounded, to make of the world an anxious projection, to remain asleep through the daybreak of possibility, never touching the great body of the unknown,
Mm.
sleeping alongside, never willing to take a chance on change. For the only heart that can be broken is the heart too ossified to open to the full range of feeling.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I feel like, yeah, maybe like putting them on the side, I feel like
May return to it.
something to return to. Um, because both of them are talking about this receptivity, this openness,
Yeah.
um, fear being the balsam of courage,
Mm-hmm.
this fragrance, this,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's hinting towards it. It's
Mm-hmm.
like part of the same thing.
Yeah.
Openness, ossified, not being like it's just
Mm-hmm.
constantly being in motion and in change,
Yeah.
open to the possibilities of things.
Mm.
I
Beautiful.
love it. I love it. Okay, I think it's a good segue into a continuation of the topic of the cost of awakening, of responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
the gravity, I guess. This is one of the key words, is talking about what keeps us from drifting.
Mm.
Do our responsibilities or our obligations in life, our day to day, can these things be the gravity of which keep us in orientation towards whatever goal that we're actually going in, whatever path,
Mm.
whatever we say our path is? Can they be used as tools to keep us grounded in a way that we're moving and we're using these obligations in our day to day as ways or as curriculum, as we often say,
Yeah.
on the path,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in one of our first ideas that we talked about, this idea of being quote unquote uh, too spiritual to not feel pain, or too
Mm-hmm.
spiritual to be outside of the circle of responsibility, or too spiritual to be floating above the clouds
Yeah.
of certain human experiences. Um, and one of the questions
Mm.
The prompts that we have is this question that says, is freedom really the absence of obligation?
Man, I always, when I think of questions like this, I don't know where the leaping off point is for
Hmm.
the definition, right?
Hmm.
How do you define obligation? You
And
know,
or freedom for this matter too.
facts,
Hmm.
facts. You know, when I think of obligation,
Or like in the context that we've been talking about obligation in the last 4 weeks or so, or
hmm
responsibility, or right, because we talked about responsibility, maybe a little bit about obligation and
hmm
or burdens,
yeah.
right? So
hmm
maybe within that context
So
and how this goes back.
if I look at obligation in terms of like a negative construct or context,
Hmm.
um, and then sort of re-ask the question for me, if I have it
Is
like that.
obligation really the absence of, oh no, is freedom really the absence of obligation?
How would you define this freedom? What's the context we've been using for that? If we're
The,
going to make
mhm.
obligation a sort of a negative connotation, when we speak about freedom, how do you?
Well, first, I don't know if I would give obligation a negative connotation.
Mm-hmm,
I feel like it's if it's on the spectrum between responsibility being actually chosen,
mm-hmm,
um, and burden being unchosen
mm-hmm,
responsibility. Obligation is kind of like more towards the responsibility
mm-hmm,
aspect, right? Um, there's a conscious choice
mm-hmm,
in it, and maybe somewhat of an understanding
mm-hmm,
what is required.
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So I won't necessarily um move it towards like has a negative connotation or not.
okay.
Um, it can when I don't choose it, or when I
Mm-hmm,
feel like it's chosen over me, and then I still have to do it.
mm-hmm,
Um, so there's a spectrum on that end. Um, well, freedom, I guess we get to decide. We get to define it now,
mm-hmm,
right? Because part of the question is really it's asking for a definition of freedom.
mm-hmm,
Because the question is asking, is freedom really the absence of obligation,
mm-hmm,
right? In the context of reaching some kind of spiritual state where I'm free of any responsibility and or obligation and or certain human experiences that can't touch me or I'm guarded by,
mm-hmm.
from,
Yeah,
um, and confusing that for freedom, I can see that being trouble,
yeah,
right? To say like, oh, I'm free because I don't have any responsibilities,
right.
I don't have any obligations. There are certain human experiences or emotions that are not, I'm too above,
Mm-hmm,
right,
mm-hmm,
pain, or I'm too above
right.
um, heartbreak, or I'm too above uh, grief,
Mm-hmm,
to feel, actually feel it, kind of like what these cards are saying.
yeah,
Then that would be a confused freedom,
I agree.
you know.
I agree. I think the answer to that question is a definitive no.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom is not the absence of obligation.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to say why, everything, because of everything you just stated, you know, um, I guess like I always say, we all have this same ground that we stand on. We
Mm-hmm.
have these human bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and so what you were saying about obligation and responsibility, I'm obligated. I'm responsible for this
Yeah.
body, how I treat it, um, how I keep it clean or keep it fed, or the
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere I place it in,
Mm-hmm.
to the capacity I have choice in the matter. You know what I mean? Like, because I do understand too that I guess many of these answers come with a certain level of privilege
Mm-hmm.
because certain people might not have agency over their body,
Yeah.
but the nervous system is the leaping off point for everyone who's alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to the capacity that they have um, stewardship over their physical body,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's an obligation, it's a responsibility. And I think that obligation, that responsibility gives you freedom, you know? How
So.
you tend to the body
Mm-hmm.
allows you to have, you know, uh,
Mm-hmm.
different kinds of liberty and freedom with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. So how would you, I mean, this is a tough, not tough one, but like maybe there's so much nuance in it. How would you, or what does freedom mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you engage with it?
Mm-hmm. Wow. I guess from a few different levels. One is um, the relationship I have between, you know, the movements that I can make. Like if I'm able to travel and like move around freely and
Mm-hmm.
freedom of speech, freedom of thought, all those kind of things. I think in terms of freedom, like at the most gross level
Mm-hmm.
or base level. But another level of freedom, I feel like there's a freedom of like self awareness where you can have an experience of yourself and reality in the zone or flow state or this transcendental state while you're engaging in behavior and action. Like that verse from the Gita I bring up sometime, establish in being, perform action.
Mm-hmm.
I think being established in self awareness or being or yoga or transcendental consciousness or self referential consciousness, all of these allow for a freedom that's all inclusive
Mm-hmm.
because the perception is sort of not bound by everyday, always reality that's contingent upon circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
This level of freedom enlivens every other aspect of being.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's how I think of it.
Mm-hmm.
Of freedom. How about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, well, two things come up. Number one is, as I read the question and as I hear you talk, is what is the difference between freedom and um, liberation?
Mm,
These two things. And freedom, the way that I engage with it, I guess, is at the most maybe more inner subtle level, is freedom from conditioning,
mm,
freedom from patterns and habits, freedom to consciously make a decision
mm-hmm,
despite of what I may feel or think the outcome might be.
mm-hmm,
Like that kind of at the like subtle level, if I would feel I'm free or not.
mm-hmm,
Like it's like, am I making the decision to the least amount of conditioning possible,
mm-hmm,
or is the decision being done cramped up under the heaviness and the weight of immense conditioning and all of that kind of
yeah,
stuff, and also the freedom to make that action, or to take that action or make that decision, and in the direction that is pulling me
mm-hmm,
to that action or whatever it is.
mm-hmm,
um, yeah, and there's an aspect, even as I speak about it, or feel it, there's an aspect of courage, kind of like what that the card that you pulled up says,
Yeah.
where fear is there and present. However, it's just an indication. It's the shadow of courage. It points towards courage. So when fear is there, courage is like right around the corner, or courage is like right above it, or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and freedom is the movement of perception and action from the attention being on the fear to include courage and a movement in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's what freedom kind of feels like
Mm-hmm.
for me, or at least how I engage with it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense of obligations, yeah, it's definitely not the absence of obligation,
Mm-hmm.
because in that way, matter of fact, maybe there's more obligations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it might be the total opposite, not
Mm-hmm.
not the absence of,
Yeah.
but really it becomes a realization of what are the true obligations, what are the
Exactly.
true responsibilities that
Exactly.
are called for in that moment, or
Yeah.
in lifetime or whatever.
Yeah. Great points. I think that, like, you know, every choice, when we think about freedom and we think about obligation, every choice has consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And we're never going to be able to map out all the consequences of a choice,
Right.
you know? But, like, when we make the choice based on whatever capacity of freedom we have, there are unknown ripple effects and butterfly effects that will happen because of the choice. And those choices or ripple effects are like, maybe cousin to karma.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that you can,
What do you mean when you say karma?
um, actions that come back to you, or
Mm-hmm.
a path that you're laid into because of a choice that you've made.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, I've always heard that idea of, like, if you take a plane from here to Chicago, from New York to Chicago, and when you get on that plane, the idea is for that plane to land in Chicago. Once you're on that plane, though, it's not likely that you're gonna be able to make as many choices to
As
go
far
to
as the
Chicago
destination
and the
and yeah.
destination and everything like that once that choice is made.
Mm-hmm.
So freedom, um, comes with a back end on it. Like, a lot of people, they just sort of kind of like, am I free? And it's all about the moment to make a choice.
Mm-hmm.
But each choice has baggage connected to it,
Yeah.
or
Laws.
laws
Yeah.
connected to it that, like, open up a whole range of possibilities that are not like the possibility that you had before you made the choice.
Right.
Once you start walking in the direction, there's probably still infinite creative choices you can make while on that plane,
Mm-hmm.
to not go to Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's not going to be the choices you could have made before you got on that plane,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And it's probably going to be more destructive trying to change the law,
Mm-hmm.
the laws of physics or the laws of man, whatever it
Yeah.
is, to have that plane not reach Chicago and
Allahu
take it.
Akbar. No.
Bro, you joking like that? Wow. But you know what I'm saying? Like, um, in terms of choice and obligation and what comes with it,
Mm-hmm.
like, when you make a choice in whatever freedom you have, there's obligation that is not probably completely seen yet, or
Yeah.
sometimes you can count the cost.
Right.
But some of those obligations are going to occur like law, like steadfast.
Yeah.
You made this choice, now this is the direction you're going.
Right.
You know,
Right.
there's something about that is, you know, is not the light is not really shined on that.
Mm-hmm.
I think in spiritual communities or really any communities when they're talking about liberation of freedom,
Mm-hmm.
because it's sometimes spoken from this space of like ungroundedness,
Mm-hmm.
not feet on the ground, not reality.
Mm-hmm.
When it should be as beautiful and as mysterious and as glorious as it is,
Mm-hmm.
but also there's a weight that comes with it of
Yeah.
choices not made and obligations that are attached to you because of choices not made and because of choices made,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I think well, I agree, and I like the fact that you brought up the point of there's gravity to it and there's weight to it, because part of the metaphor that's that's you know that we're playing with is that weight and that gravity of these choices, and what the absence of that, what kind of destruction
Mm-hmm.
that allow or that brings forward.
Yeah.
Because even in the sense of, or as a metaphor of plants and trees, right? In order for them, they only know to go up is because they have reference to gravity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember seeing a video of a study or experiment where they put, like, they put a seed in a soil, in like a pot, and then that pot was on a spin,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it had its own kind of gravitational force, and the seed started to grow, or the plant started to grow in the direction against the gravitational pull,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, if the pot is moving like this,
Mm-hmm.
the tree is growing inside to
Mm-hmm.
the center because the gravity is pulling it out,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Um, so it's using gravity, and it's using that pull to orient itself in
Mm-hmm.
which way it needs to grow,
Yeah.
right? And I think the weight that you were talking about, the obligations or the responsibilities,
Mm-hmm.
are in a way can be used as gravity for the plants that can orient us in the direction of which growth is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because outside of that, it's like being in open space
Mm-hmm.
without any immediate gravitational pull,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of what you said, like not grounded, no groundedness, no
Mm-hmm.
rootedness, nothing, no feet on the ground, and it's like the
Right.
direction. It's so um, what's that word? Disorienting,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Right.
um, which sometimes feels like, I don't know if you experienced that before, like jumping in the water and then flipping by mistake, or like being taken by waves,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like flips you, and then you don't even know what's up and what's down, and
Right.
it's like, and I feel like without having certain obligations, or any obligations maybe for that matter, it kind of, yeah, it's like
Yeah.
a balloon, a kite that's
Yeah.
just flying with the wind, or like the metaphor that you used,
Mm-hmm.
a ship that's just being taken by the wind
Yeah.
left and right. Um, so having obligations, which in a way also feels like maybe cousin to discipline,
Mm-hmm.
or on the same kind of plane
Yeah.
as that. Um, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel another point too is like, I feel there is ways of which one can experiment
Mm-hmm.
with that, right? Like put certain conditions on, maybe in a particular area of study, in a particular um, hobby or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, put certain restraints,
Yeah.
and see what that does to that process.
Right.
You know what I mean? Does it enhance it, or does it, what actually comes up,
Mm-hmm.
when these certain restraints, which may look like obligations at that moment, and how these decisions might change, or
Yeah.
the choice or the possibility of choices are no longer infinite possibilities because now you added a certain uh, endpoint or measure to only
Exactly.
have certain choices that you can make. And people who are, let's say, painters, artists, use that all the time,
Mm-hmm.
saying like, okay, I'm only gonna paint. Let's say they're a painter. I'm only gonna paint using shades of blue,
Yeah.
or I'm only gonna uh, draw squares.
Mm-hmm.
My paintings are gonna. So they would add these restraints in the beginning. She's like, oh, what the? I can't draw. Like, what am I gonna draw? But then sitting with that and allowing for a process to emerge, then a
Right.
whole different
Right.
thing that may come about from what felt like a restraint, but actually it opened, kind of like what you said, it opened its own
Yeah.
possibility,
Yeah.
of choices to be made. Yeah. Well, here's the second question, which I guess we kind of talked about, but I just want to bring it up. We don't necessarily have to go into it if we don't feel like it. Can too much freedom become disorientation? This is kind
Hmm.
of like, you know,
Again, it depends on what this person is calling freedom. Like, if it's freedom that this person has a level of self-awareness where they're awake to themselves, and that is their relationship to self-awareness and reality, then no, I
mm-hmm,
don't think I don't think so. But if there is no relationship between their self-awareness and reality, then yeah, too much so-called freedom,
yeah,
yeah, it can be a danger.
yeah,
you know but at that level, to me, that wouldn't even be freedom. That's fragmentation to me.
mm-hmm,
That is a person who has conceptually, based on their thought life, put the label of freedom on themselves and onto their reality,
mm-hmm,
but there's really no freedom there. It's just um, bondage to their thought life,
mm-hmm,
you know,
mm-hmm,
masquerading as freedom.
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. In which, yeah, in what freedom means to that individual, right? Whether it's going to be bringing more disorientation, or freedom itself becoming the orientation of which one is moving through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're right, or I agree. Um, this other prompt is saying, what commitments give your life an orbit?
Like, personally, or the general, in general, what?
Mm, maybe in general or personally, it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Or even the idea of commitments giving one's life an orbit,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's, I think, a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but like every now and then in the last four weeks, there is this maybe subtle undertone of some of these questions that also might be pointing at, one's own orientation or goal or purpose, if you will, or the question of like, hey, what am I here? What am I here to do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Um, and I feel like some of these questions, when it brings up commitments or obligations or um, responsibilities, is like steering towards different ways of not handling, like thinking about that question
Mm-hmm.
of what am I here to do in
Hmm.
this life,
Hmm.
right? And I think when it comes to asking the question of freedom, depending on how we engage with the question of why I'm here or what I'm here to do, it starts to give shape,
Yeah.
to that. to that question, or maybe how we engage with it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And somebody who might say, well, I'm here just to be here, right? Is that infinite freedom? What point do they need to uh, have something to orient or to
Mm-hmm.
orbit their life around? Otherwise, it's just
Hmm.
no rootedness, um, or you know, obviously there's another whole side of the spectrum, which is the opposite of it. Someone's like, no, it has to look. My purpose is this, and it has to look like that. And there's
Mm-hmm.
no kind of like one of these cards. I don't know which one. There's no flexibility of change. It's just completely rigidness,
Yeah.
and it's like it's very difficult. There's no, you know what I mean? It
Yeah.
just makes things very, very challenging. So I think when it's asking about what commitments give your life an orbit, somehow I still hear the echo of this question of like, what is this like? The question of like, why? Or why am I here? Or the purpose of my
Yeah.
life? Or these kind of things. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if you feel the same kind of resonance or echo in the some of these questions.
I absolutely do. That's why for me, I think like each question has this spectrum from like subtle to gross.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the grossest level, I think that people can be overtaken by their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and based on their conditioning, have a level of freedom there to choose something, and that feels like liberation. That
Mm-hmm.
feels like I'm making a choice,
Mm-hmm.
and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
For those who experiences of themselves extend a little bit beyond that, it would be that, but what I just described, and also a more subtle level of awareness that um, starts at uh, a space of awareness that is not completely overtaken or inundated with object referral reality, meaning thoughts, feelings, emotions, and conditioning from the environment. But let's say at the sprouting level of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and conditionings where this person is choosing this so called liberation of choice from, there is probably at the base their physical body.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever their purpose on the planet is, according to their thought life and what their conditioning is nothing. Maybe that's too strong. Is nothing without a body.
Right.
And so, your first obligation is to be fed,
Mm-hmm.
is to take care of this nervous system, to figure out what's going to allow it to grow and reach its most optimum state of um, functioning.
Mm-hmm.
There's this verse or there's this quote. I don't know where it's from, but Maharshi's found saying it often that the nature of life is to grow,
Mm-hmm.
and the purpose of life is the expansion of happiness.
Mm-hmm.
None of these things is happening without body,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe in more privileged areas like where we are to some degree, you can skip talking about that and go straight to I want to be a doctor and that's my purpose, or I want to
Mm-hmm.
be an artist or an actor and that's my purpose. you know Maybe you can just jump there because the base requirements of life is already
Yeah.
settled.
Yeah.
But that's not the case all around the world,
Mm-hmm.
right? There are places where people are trying to find food, or
Mm-hmm.
people don't have enough food, and so they're emaciated or starving, and or they're having bombs dropped on them right now,
Mm-hmm.
or so much is going on where the the physicality of life in terms of obligation and freedom and purpose can't be looked over
Yeah.
for what mainstream American society or the West society might think of, oh, my dharma, right? It becomes in those places survival. In many places here, like survival
Mm-hmm.
is your dharma,
Mm-hmm.
survival is your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
survival is your obligation, and turning that survival into a place where the body is comfortable enough understanding that it's going to be fed, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to be housed, it's going to be whatever Maslow's hierarchy of needs are fulfilled on. And then maybe we can speak a little bit deeper about self actualization and status and those type of freedoms and liberties. I guess they become at that level of privilege more of the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Um, but without the base that you need a physical body and that being your first dharma or your first obligation, your first purpose, everything else to me is null and void.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in fact, it's the life that's in this that would give life to anything else that your mind might be pointing at is
Mm-hmm.
the dharma or is the purpose or the freedom the that my that my or the what is it the responsibility that I'd like my freedom to
Orbit.
orbit around.
Mm.
You know, when I choose that, you know, I guess it's on the basis that all these other needs are met,
Mm-hmm.
these obligations that we have to ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and maybe to others.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
what are your thoughts about this?
I I agree 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
50-50. There's like, yes, there's the obligation of the body at the most kind of like fundamental level,
Mm-hmm.
right? um baby's born, baby gotta eat, baby gotta be warm, you know not too warm, not too, like, all of these things that kind of um, have to take place at some point. I don't think that the movement is linear,
Mm-hmm.
that this has to be done, and then when this is done, then there's this other thing, and then when that's done, then there's room for this to take place.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's room for things to be dynamic and non, like, things happening at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
um, that are not moving in a linear way. It's very interesting. I think maybe I shared that with you also. Seeing so somebody talking about the study of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and how in certain tribes it's kind of like using non-linear ways,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but
Yeah.
it's moving in a way that is, the thing is, like, right now and the culture that we're dealing with.
No, he actually wrote it how you're describing first. It was like that. It wasn't necessarily linear.
Oh.
You know, he
Mm.
was what you need for your body. The first things was linear, but
Mm-hmm.
everything else grows like limbs. You
Mm-mm.
know.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like the yeah, that space for things that to kind of grow. Yeah, in like a, not necessarily in a linear way.
Yeah.
um but again, not overlooking or overstepping an obligation that is absolutely foundational,
Facts.
you know um so yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, the part that, there's the that commitment or the obligation of the body
Mm-hmm.
in these things cannot be overlooked, and at the same time, all of these other, let's say, maybe questions or whatever it is, these thoughts or um, emotions or ideas or whatever that come up, might also at the same time occupy the same space,
Mm-hmm.
um, and allow for the ocean of possibility to
Mm-hmm.
really be experienced and widened. rather
Mm-hmm.
than just the small thread of impossibility where it's like, oh, I need this to happen in order for this other thing to take place.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like my feeling on it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but to your point, like that's the thing. Like somebody, I was talking to Abe the other day. Somebody can have their commitment and their orbit be the body.
Mm-hmm.
Like th- that's their beginning, middle, and ending, right? Where it's like that's their study actually. That's they do a whole movement, the whole thing about health. They're
Mm-hmm.
spending, you know, 6, 7, 8 hours in the gym and honing their craft. They're spending, 5, 6 hours in the kitchen preparing certain meals. Like that becomes their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So there's that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
My thought is, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess when I think of it, is you know, is to me is everybody's thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one who's not doing that. And to the degree you aren't aware of how you're doing it, is probably to the degree you're going to be less functional in your life
Mm-hmm.
as you get older. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's why I say everything that we're speaking is from this level of privilege, because everybody don't have the time to focus in on it like that. You know what I mean? But like wherever you are in your status in terms of like, are you in danger or not? Do you have money or not? Are you housed or not?
Mm-hmm.
All these things play a role in how this question is answered and whether they can even get to speak to some level of awareness beyond what's gross and vocational, or you know um, I don't I don't have a better word other than, I don't want to say superficial, because that makes it, you know what I mean. But I'm trying to point at, like, if you don't have your base needs met, how are you gonna how is your mind gonna decide, you know I'm gonna focus on drawing
People
when you
do.
can't eat, or a bomb is dropping on you?
People
Maybe
do.
they do, but it's gonna
Yeah.
be short if a bomb is dropping on you.
No,
You
but
know what I
that's
mean?
that's the case. Like people in Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like now that's the only place that this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very interesting because in the midst of all of that, people are making instruments out of like,
Not that they're
you know what I
not doing
mean?
that,
Right.
but they're not doing that in place of food or water. Food and water is definitely coming before drawing. Getting getting whatever safety you can get is coming before drawing. Like, they might still be doing those things, but those
Yeah.
things are not priority. Like, there's no way
Mm-hmm.
in terms of food and safety, and
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, they might still be doing it. It's necessary,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's not food. It's not gonna feed you. It's not gonna shelter you. It's not gonna give you water to drink.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's still valuable. I'm not saying it's not valuable. It's just not base,
Mm-hmm.
you know? In my opinion, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's I mean that's a whole topic in itself, right? Um, as far as like what are we allowing ourselves to experience when and where and how, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because once your stomach is full, and now now what,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You hunted, you went gathered food, whatever you did, all that kind of stuff, and then you ate. And then there's it's like certain people go in different directions as far as what happens in those moments or after that moment. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, this is not enough. I have to find food for tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, that's not enough. I gotta find food for the day after that, and that's not enough. And then it's just consumed, being consumed in that, and then moving, like continuously being consumed in that way. Not that
Mm-hmm.
it's good or bad, but it's like it becomes a trajectory of which one's orientation
Yeah.
becomes that, right? And then the different possibilities and ways of which some other people might experience it, like, okay, getting this now, okay, whatever, food, I have water now, I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's play some music.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dance.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move the body.
Yeah.
Oh, this person needs to get married. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, um, both are happening and people doing it in so many different ways,
Mm-hmm.
right? That, yeah, I guess what I'm getting from your point is not somebody's not going starving to the extent of starvation and choosing to think about their purpose and stuff like that in
Mm-hmm.
place of starvation and or
Yeah.
dehydration or stuff
And
like that.
they're not doing it intentionally, at least, I
Mm-hmm.
would hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are some people, some of us out here who, I mean, you know, you get inundated by object referral reality,
Mm-hmm.
and because I'm so caught up in love, let's say, with this other person,
Mm-hmm.
that I don't handle my other obligations.
Yeah.
And so now this in love feeling
Mm-hmm.
is louder than,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you need to eat, you need to take care of your home, you need to do these other things.
Yeah.
And because you've named it in love, it's now sanctified, it's sacred.
Mm-hmm.
And so now this is your purpose, this is your dharma, this is your running in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
You might not call it this, but there, the drive that's happening
Yeah.
is in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And so there's fragmentation other places in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You this can happen with religion, this can happen with food, this can happen with anything in object for a reality, like
Mm-hmm.
where there's fragmentation in how you're able to hold awareness,
Mm-hmm.
self-awareness, to see what the wholeness of your life needs
Mm-hmm.
and move in a direction that creates more wholeness and functionality,
Mm-hmm.
not just top heavy with person, place, thing, or thought
Mm-hmm.
that is the center of your attention in the moment.
Yeah.
But holistically, what does it look like?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And oftentimes, if you don't have some level of awareness, or maybe some other people in your life who can show you the mirror of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you be like, oh shit, like I'm not, I'm
Yeah.
pouring so much attention in this area, then these other areas of my life, important areas,
Mm-hmm.
are falling to the wayside.
Mm-hmm.
But I get to say, oh, but I was doing this
Mm-hmm.
thing and it was God ordained, or whatever it might look like.
Mm-hmm.
Is it real freedom? Is it real choice?
Mm-hmm.
Or am I um, caught up in the winds of some, some conditioning that I can't see? You know, I think this is at some point, at least with myself as I'm growing, and whoever considers himself to be spiritual or whatever they might define it to be, there's to be a real self inventory, a self reckoning to say, you know, I get what I'm calling things, I get these value in these things, but how do I get to the truth of the situation? What's my clearest ground to stand on, to look at everything,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And once I get that data, can I go to sleep? Can I transcend? Can I do something that's gonna pull me from the rapture of it, and then be able to make a choice from the data, along with some level of self-awareness, or
Mm-hmm.
some self-referential state,
Mm-hmm.
you know? But if I'm completely, my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I can't maintain um, any kind of witness quality
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of them, then It's just another whim that I'm caught up in,
Yeah.
which might be necessary because if
Yeah.
that's my reality, then I use what I got to get what I need. But if there's capacity for anything else, then I can navigate a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I guess that's all I'm saying.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. So I think this is a good segue, um, to, because you mentioned, for you and or for somebody that may call themselves spiritual, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that they may call themselves, and having that space or that capacity in order to stand on whatever level of solid ground
Mm-hmm.
that provides the clearest, most truthful, um, uh, projection or impression
Mm-hmm.
of reality.
Right.
Um, so, with that said, is there does that fall, what you just described, would that fall under some kind of a archetype of the awakened adult or the mature, you know, let's say a human being? Um, Kind of like the question or the prompt that is coming up is, does what does awakening look like when nobody is watching?
Mm.
And I think this is kind of like what you're pointing at, right? Of like an a state or that ground space where one can stand on. And it's in those moments that are not necessarily caught up in some thought, place, person, or thing,
Mm-hmm.
but rather it's, mm, a step removed
Mm-hmm.
from these things that one
Mm-hmm.
can stand on. And I think this is how I see when nobody's watching. Obviously, that term "nobody's watching" can look like literally nobody is around, and
Mm-hmm.
one literally by themselves in a moment of seclusion, I guess, or a moment of,
Uh-huh.
you know. Um, yeah. So would you say what you just described as far as that ground or that land of
Mm-hmm.
which one stands on to be some kind of, um, an answer to this, some kind of part of a certain archetype
Of
of
a
an awakened adult, or a mature, maybe not awakened, I don't know if that's the correct terminology, but like a mature human being, adult. um,
because then I'm having to judge, right? Like what's
oh,
a
if it's not this, it's that.
yeah, like you know, am I talking about, and when I say a mature adult, am I talking about like the perfect human, like what you describe in Sufism, or higher states of consciousness, like from the Martian Vedic science? Or am I talking about an adult who is functional in their life, where they can handle the different aspects of, you know, let's say Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You know what I mean? Like, what do we mean?
When we say awakened
Yeah.
adult, um,
Are we talking about like the Buddha? I am awake. You
I
know?
mean, in a sense, like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily like the Buddha saying somebody's, you know, but like in a sense of like, which is a continuation of everything that you know, we've been talking about the last 4 weeks, of making decisions consciously,
Yeah.
being in a state to make a conscious decision, or making a decision as conscious as one can possibly make
Yeah.
in that moment. And standing on that ground of which you just described, that can provide the clearest, most truthful rendition of reality outside of any threads that may be pulling towards
Yeah.
people, places, or things, or
Yeah.
ideas, or conditioning, or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? That ground is somewhat one step removed, a step over,
Yeah.
whatever way that we want to describe it.
Yeah.
Um, I think in that way, it's like using the word awaken, because I think there's a difference, which again we spoke a little bit about it, of somebody handling their stuff or not handling their stuff, and where they fit on this spectrum, right? Somebody can be like, what, everything in Maslow's,
Mm-hmm.
okay, everything's taken care of, all good, They might be completely terrible people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And vice versa. Somebody might be maybe struggling to get by,
Mm-hmm.
doing all that kind of stuff, and yet which I would want to read one of these again. Their heart, their being is transparent in such a way that,
Yeah.
but hey, there's whatever, struggling financially, struggling with their weight, struggling. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
having a measure of like, hey, if your life looks good on the outside, then on the inside you're good, and you know what I mean. Um, to me, that's not a proper scale or measure.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
so awakened is kind of like a wider spectrum
Yeah.
that includes the inner, includes the mystery,
Yeah.
it includes the outer, it includes how one shows up, what's one's conduct
Yeah.
is. You know what I mean? Um, all of these things.
Yeah.
Like, can I read this?
Mm-hmm.
All of these things, because I feel like this, even when you read it, like it reminded me of this kind of this section of the topic, because it's saying, blessed is the person. So let's imagine that what I'm about to read is somewhat a description of a mature awakened adult in some kind
Okay.
of degree. And let's see if it fits or not, or maybe some things needs to change or whatever. Blessed is the person who delights in seeing the inner child in everyone and the magic in all creatures, who does not shun difficulty and can turn with equal reverence towards sorrow and joy, who can trust fear as the balsam of courage and pain as an instrument for opening the heart, who can pause to notice the delicate luster of a lichen. What was that word?
Lichen.
Lichen. Pause to notice the delicate luster of a lichen, and to the undulations, undulations of the light, who dares to make hope an axiom of being
Mm.
and is strong enough to be changed by love.
Wow.
It feels to me that this kind of description is a wholesome description of some kind of an archetype or some kind of a way of which the quote unquote awakened, if we want to use that language,
Mm-hmm.
mature adult can relax into, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a level of balance between, which reminds me of Rumi. A lot of Rumi stuff is like this, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like nice balance between who does not shun difficulty
Mm-hmm.
and can turn with equal reverence towards sorrow and joy,
Mm-hmm.
can trust fear as the balsam of courage. Like these things that seem to be on different spectrum, right, of emotion, or just different spectrum of experience, that individual does not shun the difficulty of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So then if a difficulty of, which means the like does not shun, that individual is not sitting in the in that posture of comfort, of patting themselves on the back, of
Mm-hmm.
rocking themselves to sleep, metaphorically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Um, but does not shun the difficulty of pretty much everything that we've been talking about, this
Mm-hmm.
life, this human experience, the weight
Yeah.
of sorrow, the weight of joy, the um, the weight of fear,
Yeah.
and then the responsibility as it shows up in courage, um, and then having that awareness refined in such a way that it can pick up and it can notice of these small little things that are happening. I mean, here it's talking about lichen and
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, undulations of the light, like these very small things that are happening in nature. But to be able to pick up on the subtleties in these things in nature, that's a mirror to be able to pick that up
Yeah.
internally and the subtleties that are happening internally. Who dare to make hope an axiom of being and strong enough to be changed by love? Like these things
Mm.
are like,
I agree.
right? Like it's there's a wholeness to it, and the focus in it, mm, is not necessarily, it's like a change is happening from the in out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In whatever way, because it's like also is a description or a proper description of a child of the moment,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh, so is this what Sufism mean by perfect human?
Right.
Mm.
Like a child of the moment where no shunning away, no going this way, that way. Sorrow is coming or welcomed as much as joy is welcomed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, love is welcomed as much as whatever, or fear is welcomed because going to be met with courage, because it's the the balsam of courage,
Mm-hmm.
the smell, the fragrance of courage is fear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like there's a child of the moment is sitting in a position of complete relaxation, maybe, and receptivity
Mm-hmm.
to what the moment is bringing.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no fighting with that moment.
Yeah.
Now, no need to change it, do anything about it, rather than, okay, this is where it's kind of like in the metaphor that you used in the school community. Shout out school community. The Diary of a Mystic.
Yes.
Um, the metaphor that you used about the ship
Mm-hmm.
and the wind, right? And this level of relaxation and subtlety to be able to pick up on the wind and use that wind to steer the sail and the
Mm-hmm.
ship.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not fighting against it or having it. It's just like being
Yeah.
directed almost. Um, but there's a level of acceptance that needs to come and take place in that moment
Yeah.
to which is receptivity.
Right.
All of this that she's talking about in this.
It's beautiful what she's talking about there and how you relayed that. And I think it's really apt that you pointed to this idea in Sufism in terms of the perfect person. And I think that shines across many different traditions. I think about it in terms of, again, the physiology and what would that mean for a nervous system that can behave in that way,
Mm-hmm.
in an established way, in a station kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of functioning is this?
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about perception and being aware of what perception is, to be able to take in opposite values and have it not completely tear you apart.
Mm-hmm.
A nervous system that is that flexible
Mm-hmm.
to unite opposites,
Yeah, to sit in paradox.
to sit in paradox. You know, what kind of perception is that? It would be a really refined perception.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a perception that can see me and then seemingly other and say, oh, I am that.
Right.
you know, person, place, or circumstance.
Right.
I am that.
Mm-hmm.
And not have it be just conceptual or
Right.
thought life or even just emotional, or it is an experience of reality
Yeah. Completely manifest.
completely manifest
Mm-hmm.
and functioning through
Yeah.
this hardware we call a body, a nervous
Mm-hmm.
system, a mind, a brain. You know, this vessel has to have a certain level of refined functioning
Mm-hmm.
that those opposite experiences doesn't completely rip it apart physically
Mm-hmm.
or psychologically,
Yeah.
you know, because I mean, we all know what it's like, you know, being in joy 1 minute and then completely having something to completely tear your
Yeah.
world apart. And
Yeah.
the oscillation of that constantly happening
Mm-hmm.
could be completely destructive to one person and then
Mm-hmm.
another person not so much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because they're callous, maybe some people because they're callous, but other people, there's a level of refined awareness and relationship with reality that allows those experiences to be um, not just they're experiencing it, but they are that experience.
Yeah.
They are that experience of joy and bliss or pain and sorrow.
Yeah.
It's all existing in reality, and they know themselves, whether it's for a state, a moment, or an established station way kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
as reality itself,
Yeah.
you know, and experiencing it through a body,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that this makes them an avatar, a bodhisattva,
Mm-hmm.
or awakened individual,
Yeah.
or
Insan kamil.
insan kamo. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? This is the polished heart,
Right.
you know, that can reflect anything in the environment and not be smudged by it,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and not have to avoid it,
Mm-hmm.
ignore it, play like it's not there,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if it's bad things,
Yeah.
you know, not have to have your head in the sand like an ostrich, you know, like
Mm-hmm.
you know it, you see it, you experience it, you can call a thing a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can say, I'm in pain,
Yeah.
I'm feeling broken,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and yet still that watcher that sits at the door, at the gate,
Mm-hmm.
is untapped, untouched,
Yeah.
unsmudged by the joy or the pain.
Mm-hmm.
It is all what they say in Vedic science, eternal bliss consciousness
Mm-hmm.
curving back on itself, you know, and bliss not having to be synonymous with the word happiness
Right.
or joy,
Mm-hmm.
is something altogether different that is closer to ineffable,
Mm-hmm.
but a taste or a color
Yeah.
of those things, you know?
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. On point. And that's um, when you were talking, one thing that um, came up as far as like, how did you say it? Like being able to experience these emotions or experiences that are completely opposite or on the complete different,
Yeah.
one way it's sorrow and whatever, the other way is joy, and to be able to oscillate between these two, and the paradox, and to be able to sit in that paradox. um, One thing I remembered is like, the when you say station or states within that complete human being, or let's say a whole human being, or I don't know, different traditions how you might define that, as that station, or like the highest quote unquote station, is the station of perplexity,
Mm-hmm.
which is that station of a seat in paradox,
Mm-hmm.
a seat of like, that can go from sorrow to joy,
Mm-hmm.
a thing, an experience, and still say, I am that
Mm-hmm.
in reality, like actually established, because the establishment is in perplexity. And perplexity is like the mother of paradoxes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
really being established in paradoxes
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like rootedness in that,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Um, that maybe give rise and or not rise, uh, capacity
Yeah.
to allow for all of these things and the things that you mentioned to actually be
Yeah.
experienced
Yeah.
and
This is what I mean
yeah.
when I think freedom. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? That's what I think freedom is.
Yeah.
You know, not that it's not the other things,
Right. Right.
but definitely that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some kind of wholeness
Hmm.
in what this might be as freedom
Yeah.
as a picture. There's like a wholeness in
Hmm.
that picture and or liberation and
Yeah.
whatever these things that
Yeah.
um yeah.
And it's very interesting to me because, we talk about like if we make a choice, let's say that from my mind that is my leaping off point for freedom, right? How do I not get caught up in it as just a conceptuality, a language that I'm centering around, which is also useful,
Hmm.
but don't get so tangled up in it that it becomes something I can repeat back, I can read back, I can speak flawlessly,
Hmm.
but never actually touch or live
Yeah, or taste.
or taste,
Hmm.
much less have it be established or a station,
Right. Right.
you know?
Hmm.
I don't know that, you know, that danger can be averted,
Mm.
because maybe getting tangled up by your senses
Hmm.
in religiosity
Hmm.
or the object of your affection, person, place, or thing, whatever your attention is on, where
Yeah.
it's completely inundating and overshadowing your self referral nature.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? The relationship of being entangled in that and then having some liberation from it without losing it,
Mm.
or if you need to lose it, but like this the spaciousness
Hmm.
that comes from transcendental experience
Hmm.
or a breakthrough, a breakdown, an epiphany, whatever these things that allow you for a moment or longer to see yourself um, beyond. I
Yeah.
won't say separate from, beyond your thoughts, feelings, and emotions and
Hmm.
object of affection or attention. Um, Even if for a moment allows me to understand, like, oh, there's an awareness that's beyond this.
Mm.
Never necessarily separate from it.
Hmm.
So these things are always going to play and display inside this reality
Yeah.
if I'm going to hold both,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolute and relative simultaneously
Yeah.
through the wiring of this nervous system. But if, in fact, I don't experience any of those things that allows me to have that taste,
Hmm.
then I only will know myself to be my thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
Yeah.
And so, whatever the object of my attention is, pain, sorrow, whatever it is in that moment, um, I'll probably, because I'm not aware, create more of the same,
Right.
more of the same. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? I'll walk in a direction
Yeah.
towards whatever conditioning
Yeah.
that I've been subject to up until that point.
Hmm.
But one thing, having the experience of a taste of this kind of awareness, it allows you never to be fully trapped by it.
Right.
Even if I am in the moment,
Hmm.
you can never not have the taste that you've had.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you'll always be like, oh, I'm experiencing this, but there is something else,
Yeah.
even if I can just think of it and I'm not experiencing it in the
Hmm.
moment. Even if I can just say, oh, but I tasted it. And because I tasted it, I know that it is an always happening reality.
Hmm.
Even now, when my mind can't really embody it,
Hmm.
it is still occurring.
Hmm.
And whatever the circumstances are now, it's just clouds blocking the sun.
Yeah.
It moves. But this sun, this radiance, this happening that is always going on, this
Yeah.
eternal bliss consciousness that is giving rise to matter and not matter giving rise to it,
Mm-hmm.
matter being a conduit of it. This is the always happening.
Mm-hmm.
This is the source, course, and goal, as they
Yeah.
say in Maharshi Vedic science. And it's only the cloud or the smudge
Yeah. On the mirror.
on the mirror
Yeah.
that clouds it,
Yeah. Distorts it.
distorts it,
Yeah.
you know, and so I create more of the smudge rather
Mm-hmm.
than, you know, knowing enough or tasting enough to just, oh, let me just clear this out,
Yeah.
and then I can experience the spectrum
Yeah.
of what I am,
Right.
rather than just these fragmented parts,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. I think that's such a great point. Like even how you're describing it and using that language is like, oh, there's greater awareness,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
That's there. That's outside of this immediate experience that I'm having
Mm-hmm.
or that I'm so close to and attached to in some kind of way that I'm
Yeah.
confusing myself with it.
Yeah.
Um, and that there is greater awareness. And that statement, even coming from a taste, um, it's that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
so valid. And it reminded me of when we read Lord to the Journey of Power.
Oh yeah, yeah. Journey to the Lord of Power.
Wait, what did I just say?
Lord to
Oh, yes, Journey to the Lord of Power by Ibn Arabi, where like as he was talking about the movement, he kept using, I don't know if he used that particular phrase, but using this thing is like, if you're experiencing this, let it go. There's a greater awareness,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like meditation. When a thought comes in, to kind of like, okay, there's that, and then just letting it, like returning,
Yeah.
um, and that return, because like there's a greater awareness, even if that thing that comes to you as experience and says, I am the greatest awareness,
Yeah.
right? Take it, accept it, and there's greater awareness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That so that even the fall, or not the fall, the trap of I've had the greatest awareness and no more kind of a thing,
Mm-hmm.
or experience, or um, that doesn't allow for um, strong enough to be changed by love, and that is happening constantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
In every moment.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a greater, as long as to the day that this body says no more,
Mm-hmm.
that there's greater awareness
Yeah.
that's happening, and that's why I think maybe that station or that establishment in perplexity
Mm-hmm.
or in paradoxes,
Yeah.
um, that can allow for the experience of the entirety of the range,
Mm-hmm.
is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Because the minute it becomes fixed, then it can be easily trapped into
Yeah.
whatever the experience is.
Ossified.
Ossified. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Rigidity, or
Yeah.
calcified, or
Yeah.
in that kind of way. Um,
Beautiful expressed.
yeah.
Beautifully expressed.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we kind of went into. I like that because it's like there's a level of wholeness that kind of really wrapped up all of these different points
Yeah.
that we were talking about, even from 4 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? The responsibility and all that. It's like all of this is there's a not running away, not shunning difficulty,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because most of the time, that's how, for me and probably most people who would experience responsibility and or burdens and or obligations
Yeah.
to have some level of difficulty, some level of what's the word, compromise, some
Mm-hmm.
level of time management,
Yeah.
some level of these things that might present themselves as difficult and or as I wish I don't have to do this right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But not shunning the difficulty, not shunning that's like whatever it is that, oh, this is a responsibility or this is an
Mm-hmm.
obligation. It's showing up in this way and I will go through,
Right.
you know?
Mm.
Yeah. And sometimes things may come to us, kind of like wolves in sheep's clothes or like, you know what I mean? Where it's like
Yes.
showing up as difficulty, but really it's fear,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or like we tell ourselves like, oh, I really don't want to do it. I
Yeah.
don't feel it, but it's whatever. It's something else that this is being covered by.
Right.
Um, yeah, which perfect. Um, which like just maybe staying a little bit on this topic. There's this question that comes up: what happens when the excitement of spirituality disappears?
The excitement. At which point was it exciting? Maybe.
Well, I can relate to that.
Uh huh.
There's a level of excitement that kind of it's almost like the excitement of learning something new,
Mm-hmm.
the excitement of an experience actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, and then the danger that comes with it, the excitement of. I remember uh, when I was at what is it now? What
Maharishi
Maharshi?
International University.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, back then it was Maharshi University of Management, MUM.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and learning meditation the first time and then having these experiences with transcendence, there was a level of excitement that came
Mm-hmm.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay, this is, or feeling something that's happening, or feeling some kind of a shift that's taking place.
Yeah.
And yeah, or like learning something new. And okay, like there's something that comes that comes with that. Um,
Hmm.
Even that was a continuation of the journey before then, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? That
Yeah.
has some kind of excitement around whatever it is, you know?
Yeah.
But at some point, that excitement, or at least if it's called excitement, yeah, that little spark, I guess, of excitement, whatever it is, disappears,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then what happens then?
Yeah.
What remains? What
E- excitement. Hmm.
is the excitement? Is the excitement the true thing of the matter?
Mm.
And everything else now is because we either trying to understand it, trying to put language around it, trying to make it um, look a certain way, trying to adultify it,
Yeah.
make it like, oh, hey, you gotta be adult. You gotta, if this is not giving me this kind of fruit, then it's not it. You know what I mean? Like adding so much to it,
Yeah.
um, kind of trying to get some kind of utility out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is the excitement the real thing,
I think like
or somewhere in between?
I think like you know I it's my opinion that there's nothing other than something spiritual happening, right? And so when I'm excited about something, it's not necessarily a difference for me. You know what I mean? And I think that might also be because spirituality had always been like maybe something that happened in survival mode for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a matter of like finding skills to navigate reality,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um, so always definitely with some excitement, like you're saying. Um, but it never was without, it's always been uh, excitement has always been together with the weight of
Mm-hmm.
what it was solving for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So, and that's still happening even now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I hear how people might use this excitement of spirituality and when it might go away, I think of like maybe when people are in the honeymoon phase of a relationship, like when they're in
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
And to me, that's just like, you know, probably like this chemical excitation that's happening in the nervous system,
Yeah.
you know, and it's maybe relating to how they see themselves or means to an end, or this object of their attention is helping them induce this chemical feelings of excitation in their
Mm-hmm.
physiology. And if this object of their attention stop behaving in a way that or stop producing, like you
Right.
said,
Right.
said chemical cocktail, then now the excitement is gone and the whole world falls apart and stuff
Yeah.
like that. um, and in that respect, uh, I guess I would say that the love or the spirituality was shallow.
Mm.
It never sort of held the wholeness of maybe what experience is, or in terms of spirituality or even love and things like that. Because from my perspective, the spirituality uh, excitement is never without the gravity of how it is, um, the obligation, the laws that it helps me navigate in the world.
Yeah.
I guess the same thing for love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about the chemical cocktail, even though that's necessary, and feels good, it tastes good, but also love comes with a certain obligation and
Yeah.
gravity, in terms of witnessing and navigating reality.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it's still the same conversation.
Yeah.
Like, um, what what is this doing in terms of wholeness
Mm-hmm.
and the functionality of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the excitations that may occur, beautiful. It's amazing. I appreciate the shot of the chemical cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
Not to devalue it because it's amazing, but also it's just a fragmented perspective of the wholeness of the reality in terms of love or spirituality,
Yeah.
which is one and the same, and both having the same application in terms of, um, when it is what we say it is, like love or so-called spirituality. The nature of life is to grow. The purpose of life, the expansion of happiness, and this has a level of holistic wholeness functioning in the life of the person,
Mm-hmm.
not fragmented,
Mm-hmm.
not um, destructive,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
not bouts of excitation and no structure or architecture
Yeah.
that maintains it, um,
Yeah.
in reality,
Mm-hmm.
other than psychological or chemical,
Yeah.
um, triggers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The I agree to a point, and I think the in most cases that excitation and or that honeymoon
Mm-hmm.
phase is the door and or the gateway
Mm-hmm.
to make a decision to, like, if the honeymoon phase, let's say, or the excitation in this question, excitement of spirituality in this question, when it fades away, and or if it does fade away, I don't think it's an indication that spirituality as a wholeness was not there or
Mm,
love was not there, but rather an indication of a choice
mm,
that wasn't made at that moment where that excitation or excitement or honeymoon phase
mm,
faded away to continue going.
mm-hmm,
You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean?
I hear you.
Because for that love to be more and more established, it's like it's happening or it's taking place in real time.
Mm-hmm,
You know, it's like right because in that moment, if somebody is already established within the wholeness of spirituality, let's call it whatever that means,
mm-hmm,
you know, um, but the wholeness of it, then the excitement or excitation will just be that,
mm-hmm,
right? Like just kind of like what you said, just a drop, you know. But when it comes to um, let's say relationship and or love, like one, let's say, is already established in love,
mm-hmm,
um, and then yeah, can see the honeymoon phase rise up and can participate in it,
mm-hmm.
and then when it fades down can maintain because they're already established in that love and maintain and
Already
choose,
established. Yeah.
you know. But in most cases, those kind of experiences or excitements of spirituality or excitement of love, let's say a
Mm-hmm,
relationship, are somewhat operate as a gate or
mm-hmm,
as the first step or door in order to be introduced to a level of relationship and or a level of
mm-hmm.
spirituality, which means, what I mean by that, a level of knowing oneself. So they're not necessarily coming at it already established,
Right.
you know what I mean? It's the first step of which that establishment is taking place. And because it is one of these first steps, there's excitement that's happening there, whether it's
I feel you.
psychologically and or physiologically. So then they go into a different relationship, and it's exciting because
Yeah.
it's this person. Then they may not be like deeply in love with that person, but
Right.
there's definitely desire that's there. There's definitely connection and their willingness to move forward. Now if that excitement and excitation starts to fade away, and they're not choosing to continually pursue because they confuse the excitement and the desire with the underlining thing that's happening, then it's on to the next, which happens
Yeah.
in both relationships and or spiritual communities or spiritual experiences, let's say.
I think like I agree with you when a person's not they don't have it when they know themselves as their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, then more than likely the excitation is going to be the first gateway, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I come from a different perspective. I think because I grew up in more of a hyper vigilant sort of space
Mm.
where, and my mom was apt to make sure I saw those things in terms of people that take advantage of others and so called spiritual leaders or romantic partners or whatever in terms of those things. So I never saw the excitation like that
Mm-hmm.
um, in terms of a gateway into spirituality or into love. Now, horniness, sexuality, okay. But love to me is something different. I think like that excitation, that chemical cocktail can be like bait. Like let's say
Yeah.
you're in you're fishing the ocean, and the fisher person is, and they throw the thing out there, and then you're a fish, unsuspecting fish, and you do they
Yeah.
pull you up out of
Yep.
and yeah, you're gonna have an experience, right? Because the whole world is different now. Like it's just I don't know. I see it as if that's the first thing I need to be able to call it what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and I never call that love. I never call that spirituality because it's not to me. It's an excitation of thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And if I've already, because of probably pain in my youth, had the experience that I'm not thoughts and feelings and emotions, then I had the taste already.
Mm-hmm.
and I've tasted excitation also. And so it's never masquerading as spirituality for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's never masquerading as love for me.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the other thing you pointed as so-called spirituality or love. I think is just life personally,
Mm-hmm.
and it's what works in terms of growing me holistically or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's what is creating that
Mm-hmm.
over time, consistently over time. And if it has those excitations in it,
Mm-hmm.
cool. But if the first thing is the excitation, and there's not a pattern of architecture and structure that holds up this spiritual so-called life or love, whatever we're discussing now, then it's not that for me.
Yeah.
There's an excitation, a chemical cocktail that is useful, but it's not. It's masquerading as something else. And for me, in my life, that's destructive or distracting from what I'm trying to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if it's whatever it is, love or spirituality, to me, it's just life. Whatever the situation is, person, place, or thing, it needs to have or grow towards architecture or structure that speaks to wholeness of life and not fragmentation,
Yeah.
not just the excitation. Same thing with food. You know what I mean? There's food that I like, but it's just not structurally healthy for me.
Mm-hmm.
It causes an excitation on my tongue, you know what I mean? And destructive things to my physiology.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same metaphor for me. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Every commercial that comes on, this cake or these cookies or this ice
No, but
cream. Let
the
me let me just finish the
example.
whole thing just so I don't forget it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't look at the excitation and grab structural nutrition from it. And that's how I look at the so-called spiritual life in terms of excitement. Whether if it has to have the structure that causes wholeness to grow in my life. It can't be an excitation of a chemical makeup in my body. Um, that's the gateway for me. To me, that's masquerading as the other thing. It is probably not clear the relationship I'm making
No,
between
I see.
food.
It's clear, but I think it's switching the metaphor maybe a little bit, because in that example, or if it's using as an example, I would say the excitation or the excitement would be to pick vegan food. That's the excitation. That's the gateway in order to move into an establishment that is
I don't think so.
like
Because
that is the
think of the question. The question was when excitement stops, what was the rest of it?
what happens.
What happens?
Yeah.
If the person is thinking excitement in terms of vegan food, maybe they was raised like a vegan or maybe they whatever like that. But I'm talking about like pure physical things. Like the vegan food is not going to stop you from choosing sugary vegan ice cream constantly. Like what is happening to the chemical in your body that creates addiction or not? Or what are you consuming? Food, people, spiritual, whatever we want to call it, that is feeding wholeness or feeding addiction. Regardless of what the addiction is, it's creating a chemical cocktail in your neurobiology.
Sure.
That's masquerading as substance, is my point. So when they ask this question, what do you do when the excitement of spirituality ends? For me, because of where I started from, the excitement that they're talking about was never spirituality. It was never being in love. It was never um, the food, the sugary, salty, fatty food.
It was never
It's
that,
the
you say?
it's the structure under it. Like I'm aware that these excitations are not the sustenance.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's masquerading as sustenance. And all of reality, at least here, has structured itself around that. Um, the churches, the mega churches, with all the things and the emotional, spiritual things that's happening, or every commercial about ice cream, soda, and pizza, or the movies that we watch of what in love and romance look like. Everything is
Yeah.
structured to point towards the excitation as the foundation, as the gateway. But really, what's happening to the body after those things that have been placed forward have been, shown for what they really are.
Yeah, I think I understood the question in a different way, kind of almost opposite to how you're understanding it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I'm like, oh, let's say you're picking a new diet,
Mm-hmm.
vegan, and it's like in that moment there is excitation. There is, okay, I'm trying something new. This is good for my body. I feel the difference. There's a
Mm-hmm.
level of like,
Yeah,
okay, like
I
now
think.
I'm gonna do this,
Yeah,
and there's a level that's how I see excitation.
the
That's what
word
I mean.
excitation. And I think that's how you and Abe mean it. When you
Yeah,
guys ask me about, you excited, and I'm always kind of like not fully knowing how to answer the question
yeah,
because you guys see the word excited maybe a bit different than me.
yeah. Like, well, yeah. Let's say this example of like, okay, there's a new, whether it's a spiritual practice, whatever,
Yeah,
a new partner, or a new diet,
yeah.
right? It's kind of crazy putting all, but
It's
life,
all the
like,
same.
yeah, it's all the
Well,
same thing.
the body,
Yeah,
right?
right. And it's like, okay, there's excitement of how I understood the question is like, let's say diet as an
Mm-hmm.
example. There's this new diet. Okay, I got, there's this level of excitement, I guess, um, trying something new, being back on track, or like, okay, I'm gonna take care of my body now. Boom, boom, boom. This is my schedule. Da, 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 da. There's a
Yeah,
level of, at least this is how I understand the word excitement, excitement that comes through, right? And can give the initial um, inertia, the initial movement,
yes,
right, forward into that direction. That's what I meant by the gate. It might be the gateway,
yeah,
right, into the new, um, maybe into a new habit, into a new whatever way of life, and it can give the initial push. And the way that I understood the question is like, okay, now when that push starts to fade, what has it, has the habit and or the way or the person or whatever it is really start to establish, or when that excitement is done, it's like, ah, I don't feel like this no more. Da, da,
yeah,
da, da. I'm gonna try another diet
yeah,
now, or I'm gonna try, a different partner or different things. You know what I mean?
yeah. That's not where I come from when I talk about this.
Mm-hmm.
But I respect that's where you come from when you talk about it. But my so-called spirituality didn't start from a place like that, where it's just kind of like, oh, choose this or choose that, or test this out, test that out. It's from a place of, um, it's just a different orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't look at life like that. Like I need to be intentional in a way that, looks at the structure and architecture of it first. You know, how's it showing up over time? What is it historically? And if it's showing itself to be something historically, this would produce what, that would be an excitement for me, like a
But to use the example of
foundational.
the vegan food, let's say, how would you,
I could
what
not
would that,
use vegan food. I would have to use, because vegan food can be destructive. I would
or
have to
whatever, like,
I would have to use the body as a base. So what is destructive for the body, whether it's vegan or not? Excessive salt, sugar, and oil. And what is exciting for the tongue? Excessive salt, sugar, and oil. So the excessive fats, or ice cream, pizza, and all those kind of things that can never build a life for you. You know what I mean? It can never consistently build a life for me, but it tastes good. But I couldn't, the excitement for me for that, it it would point more to my addiction than an excitement. I get excited about giant salads that I can make with
Right.
that feel structural to my reality and my health. And if I
Yeah.
can do the practical things as a lifestyle more consistently, that would be how I would be experiencing what you're
Yeah.
describing as excitement.
Hmm.
But if it's an excitation um, from onset, like you can find in certain spiritualities or religious contexts or romantic connections or fad diets, that's not going to excite me. You know what I mean? Unless maybe I'm just really hungry or really horny or really lonely. You know what I mean? And I need some tribe and some connection
Hmm.
to kind of get close to help feed the loneliness. No disrespect to who needs to do it like that. Do what you got to do. Um, or if I'm horny and I need to test out different partners and fulfill a need and do that, okay. Or if I'm, I haven't eaten all day and I'm really hungry and Popeyes is right there. And I don't feel like walking and get a salad and chopping it up and doing all that stuff. You know what I mean? It's not, I'm happy I'm eating,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? But am I excited?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No,
That's what I'm
I'm
saying.
not. Hmm.
That's what you're saying right now is,
What you're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
right? Because like when you said, let's say using the big, making a big salad, excited about this giant salad,
Hmm.
right? Even though, sure, tongue, there is some, even in that extent, there is some kind of chemical cocktail that's taking place internally, as far as maybe dopamine, as far as
Yeah, but I'm speaking about
ways
an
of which,
addiction.
no, I understand, but you're pointing towards or associating the word excitement with addiction.
Yes.
Yeah, but in a sense, you also used it excited about this giant,
Because I'm trying to
you
relate
know
to
what I
how
mean?
you
Yeah.
and other people use the word. But if something is just like, if something is showing up for a moment and giving an excitation, I'm not immediately looking at that as excitement. I'm probably looking at that like, okay, well, what is this going to look like over time? How's this going to show up in my life? What is it going to produce?
Right.
And the routine of it, the structure of it, the architecture of it, can it be lived? Is what will maybe give me the excitement that you're talking about from the perspective that you're looking at these examples.
Right.
You know,
Right. And yeah, I think that part that you just said, like how would it look like consistently or as a structure, is what the question is pointing towards.
I think so,
Yeah.
but I think is valid to point out this idea of excitement that is pointing out because it's giving the impression that at the onset of a new spirituality thing
A new
that there,
experience.
yeah, that there has to be an excitement that will leave at some point
Mm-hmm.
and that you have to now figure out the structure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's for me that would be the horse before the cart. No, the cart before the horse. You know,
Yeah.
but that's because of where I'm starting from. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't look at things like that.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a conscious decision, or somebody in the beginning is just looking for that excitation or excitement right off the bat.
You don't
You
think
know,
so? You don't think the majority of people are looking for that?
I think after the initial period
Of what?
of experiencing some kind of excitation, let's say in this kind of in this context, and experiencing that, then they would want to look into similar experience, because now they have that as a reference point.
Mm-hmm.
And then yes, and then it can become like you're just like out there looking for it.
I'm just trying to feed this chemical cocktail.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
how I look at it for myself, though.
Yeah.
Not to force that on anyone else.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I engage with it.
Yeah. And I think if it stays there, I guess to your point, that's it becomes it becomes destructive,
Hmm.
because now it's just feeding that chemical cocktail or feeding
Yeah, and
whatever it is.
calling it spirituality,
Yeah.
calling it love,
Right.
calling it um, my diet. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Whatever we want to call it, whatever it is. I think this is why I really get off on using the body as like a foundational principle,
Mm-hmm.
because like, you know, it's a base thing where even though we see things differently or people see things differently, you got a body,
Mm-hmm.
and it's, even though they all operate differently,
Right.
there are certain specific things
Mm-hmm.
that's happening
Mm-hmm.
that is happening. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna get around being able to point out, if someone's pointing out like, oh, like my body responds to fat, salt, sugar, and oil in this way, and my taste buds have been trained to enjoy it in this way.
Yeah.
And if that's not the right thing for my body, it's not the right thing for my body, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And many other bodies out there.
Yeah.
There's like a baseline where you
Mm-hmm.
can point to, even though so many different religions, you know, there's a baseline in their body that you can point to and be like,
Yeah.
okay, whether someone is jumping for Jesus or jumping for Allah or jumping for whatever Hindu god, their body is jumping.
Mm-hmm.
The
Mm-hmm.
body is bowing.
Mm-hmm.
Their mind and neurological pathways is doing a very specific thing
Mm-hmm.
when they associate with whatever faith they're dealing with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And those specific things that their brain is doing look similar across
Mm-hmm.
cultures and
Mm-hmm.
time and space and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so many people, even though they might not acknowledge it, it means something where you grow up and the culture you grow up under and
Yeah.
the religions you choose and all
Yeah.
these
All of
things.
it.
I hear certain people like, oh, wow, I looked at so many different religions and I decided on this one. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Did you?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they can say that all day long, but you have no idea. They have no idea. I have no idea how much conditioning from the past
Yeah.
has allowed me to choose this specific garment of religion.
Right.
But from my lens or perspective, it doesn't matter,
Right.
because as long as you're getting what you need with your God and your physiology is operating and doing whatever it needs to do to feel that oneness, that love with your God, then you're doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's just an excitation for some leader or some thought that's surrounding it or some any things like that that has no real structure for the wholeness of your life under it,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe that's a red flag
Mm-hmm.
from in my book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. The nuance.
The
The
nuances.
nuance that's, yeah, that's in it. And the capacity and perception that's happening, um, in throughout all of these different
Mm-hmm.
moments,
Mm-hmm.
or experiences,
Mm-hmm.
or how the body is reacting, acting, doing all of these things,
Mm-hmm.
um, and how the heart is engaging with it
Mm-hmm.
all. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I think there's a space of the I don't know, of the like the mystery that's in it,
Mm-hmm.
that is within every experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whether like whatever life experience,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual,
Mm-hmm.
non-spiritual, this way or that way, um, that I feel, to me, without it, it's like the absence of music in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you know here's chemicals. Your brain is just a your whole entire experience is an experience of
Hmm.
chemical things are firing in your brain,
Hmm.
and that's it.
That's not what I'm
You
saying,
know?
though.
No, no, I know, but they're like
This is hardware that's coming through it, not.
right, right. Um, so yeah, so like leaving for me, or like leaving room for for the music, for the mystery of which that is moving through the hardware,
Hmm.
or experiencing the hardware, or
Hmm.
being in the hardware, like all of that.
Right. But not
Um,
using that as an excuse not to look at the hard stuff, like the addiction,
sure.
the chemical addiction, that for emotions
Mm-hmm.
and diet and things. Because many people do that. Like
Yeah.
they want to lean into the mystery and ignore like the actual sound physical things that their body is going through, or that
Mm-hmm.
their mind is going through,
Mm-hmm.
and they give it all, giving it to Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm giving it to God, I'm giving it to. And it's like, yeah, and take your ass to therapy, or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and work out, Antoine,
Mm-hmm.
or yeah, and watch all the salt that you're consuming. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem with like respecting the mystery of things or going to God, but also, Antoine, look at the practical things you need to be focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because, I've done the spiritual bypassing before.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And it's not my intention, because I leaned all the way in that direction at one time, to now it's all about the body and things like that. But I do understand, like, where most people that start to have this relationship in a certain very focused way, their lives fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't necessarily have to,
Mm-hmm.
because it becomes this thing of spiritual bypassing masquerading as love for God,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And uh, that's heartbreaking to me
Mm-hmm.
in my own life, but also in other people's lives.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know it's gonna drop.
Yup. Okay. Okay. Maybe we'll end with one last question. Ooh. Um, there's this idea. Where is it? Mhm. Kind of bringing it into responsibility, that direction from responsibility towards a calling, or that question that's kind of, like I said before, that's kind of like the underlining question of like, why am I here,
Hmm.
right? um and seeing if it's through experience and through life, how can responsibilities and or obligations, when we're consciously choosing them, can they, and maybe this is like an actual experiment, can they point towards our calling, quote unquote, or what is it that the thread of which is allowing me to continue to choose and
Hmm.
live this life, right? Is that pull that's taking place, or maybe push for some people, I don't know, um, that's taking place. One of the questions that is here that kind of, I don't know, maybe caught my attention is, what are you willing to, I mean, they use the worst the word suffer here, but like, what are you willing to maybe sacrifice? I don't know. What are you willing to suffer for? That's the actual
Hmm.
question, right? What are you willing to, um, and I wonder if that's a pointer towards that question of the why, or the big why,
Uh huh.
one of these big questions,
Yeah.
you know. Um,
Mm.
I won't want to get hang up on the word suffer, but like, you know, what are you willing to, whatever other word that might be used, um, sacrifice for, suffer for,
Mm-hmm. That's the whole question. What are you willing to
discipline
suffer for?
for, yeah, discipline for, and it's under the premise of how can, or does, or do our obligations and responsibilities, do they point towards our calling, let's say, or our reason for being here? Can they help us
Mm.
navigate that question? um, and if we add on top of it this question is like, hey, what am I willing to experience difficulty for, right? Do not shun difficulty.
Mm-hmm.
um, what am I willing to experience that for,
Mm-hmm.
you know? What?
Oh no, I just thought about like, you know, relationships and friendships,
Hmm.
family, platonic, romantic,
Yeah.
you know, life in general, working, making money, food, like so many difficulties,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And so if the question is, what am I willing to experience difficulties for?
Hmm.
Life in general, I imagine, right? Um, but if I make the question bigger, kind of like how you said, like dharmic, or I like to play with it in terms of like this one end of the spectrum, and life is empty and meaningless, and you don't have to you know make some big dharmic plan like I'm meant to do this and this is why I'm here. It's empty and meaningless. Just choose whatever the heck you want.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And enjoy yourself.
Now, how do
And
you
then on
choose
this
that?
other, how
Yeah.
do you do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then on the other end, the nature of life is to grow. The purpose of life is the expansion of happiness. And maybe there's some dharmic expression of that for that's true to your constitution.
Hmm.
And that like music or sound and stuff like that. Where you feel like I am called this body, this constitution, and it's about that life, and I am willing to experience difficulty in order to have that happen. Like, I guess that's the two spectrums that people could be on.
Hmm.
And I think both could be extremely liberating, where life is empty and meaningless and I can do whatever I choose to do. Some people probably, in fact, I know some people who would experience that as liberty. They
Hmm.
feel liberated with that idea. And then there are other people on the other side of the spectrum, and I guess there's so many distinctions in between that feel like no, nature of life is the expansion of happiness, and the purpose of life is to grow, or vice versa. And this is all connected to my dharma.
Hmm.
And my dharma says that I am going to be an amazing actor, or singer, or musician, or artist, or poet, and this is where I
Yeah.
go. Man, and I'm willing to experience the difficulty of, uh, you don't know, the artist's life in order to have that dharmic
Yeah.
expression come to manifestation,
They're both asking the same question, though.
which is,
That choice, like, what is it? Even that person that said that I have everything to choose. Okay, then how do you choose? How do you choose really
mm-hmm,
what it is that you're willing to experience real difficulty for, right? It's
mm-hmm,
like, it's almost like in business, like, oh, you can open any business. It's a capitalistic society. You
yeah,
can open any business and make money through any business.
yeah,
And then where do most people stop? Is not knowing what to choose and what business to start to begin with, because
I don't know.
it's so vast.
I don't know. That's why most people stop, though. What if they stop because they're scared?
It can be part of it.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I, there's so much creativity and so much choices, especially from this level of privilege that we have here. Not that it's the ultimate, but it's a certain level of
Yeah.
privilege compared to what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we stop, I stop, you know, at probably fear or lack of creativity, I mean, lack of follow through. Like there's
But it's the same as the other spectrum too. These
drama,
things, yes.
or wait, what? The same as what I'm saying now?
The things that might stop this individual on this spectrum are really the same things that might stop the individual on that spectrum, right? Because sure, they
Oh
might have
yeah,
that dharma, but they might be fear,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
all
yeah,
of
yeah,
these
yeah,
things
yeah.
that come up. What I'm saying is that both of these spectrum, both of the end of these of the spectrum is true in how you
Uh-huh.
described it. But regardless of where, the question remains the same. The orientation, maybe how one approaches it,
Like, what are you willing to experience difficulty for? I mean,
or or
what
what
is,
it is that you would want to do, or like that question that you said, like people in this pocket, hey, I can choose anything, right?
yeah.
But like, okay, how do you choose?
I'll speak to that, but also want to say, like, the framing of the question, what are you willing to suffer for? What are you willing to go through difficulty for? Is already, in my opinion, like, um, framing the world in a certain perspective. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Where, and framing this idea of like life in a certain perspective,
Mm-hmm.
that to me is already bound and destructive in and of itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you want to do something great by your own idea of what that is does not necessarily mean you have to suffer through it or experience difficulty because of it, you know? Uh, but to answer the question, how does a person decide, you said? Um, Again, to me, it depends on whether this person identifies with themselves as their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and which of those might be more dominant than the other at the moment. Or depending on what capacity they have to have some self awareness occurring with the experience of thought, feelings, and emotions, will allow for a leaping off point, a ground where a choice that is more honest to their deepest sense of self can be made.
Mm-hmm.
This is literally probably my answer with everything we've asked or talked about over the time we've been on live, this relationship between thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and this deeper sense of self, the awareness that is watching, listening to, hearing the thought, feelings, and emotions, and whether the person is having a metacognitive experience, awareness of these two aspects or these few aspects of their being happening,
Mm-hmm.
um, and being able to make a choice from this all-inclusive state rather than just one dominant force that's the loudest in uh, their makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's some people that thought life, you know, I, these thoughts are coming in, and I'm choosing this because this is what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Or I feel these feelings of anxiety or excitation or da da da, and now I'm moving in this direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or these emotions, I'm in love, I'm in anger, I'm hating, I'm racist, I'm this, I'm that. You know what I mean? Like, so this is what's driving their life, Or I'm, I've grew up in poverty, so now I need to create money, and this trauma path is what's driving them,
Mm-hmm.
So it could be anything like that. The Probably whether the thoughts, feelings, or emotions, whichever is the loudest, or if they're running the things together, this can sprout off in so many directions of what their choice might look like,
Mm-hmm.
and that could wrap itself around person, place, thing, thought, religion, philosophy, diet, anything, and solidify. What is it? Ossify,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, to it,
Mm-hmm.
and they make a choice from that rigid structure of how they identify, and then then they sanctify it and call it spirituality, or call it marriage, or call it, this is the proper diet for human beings. You know what I mean? Whatever it could be, you know, that's their leaping off point,
Yeah.
you know, and it still might be even with the greater awareness of self. It's not that the greater awareness of self says, oh, no, you don't have, this diet is wrong and this diet is right. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't think it's like that. It's about being able to be really self-referential and choose it from a space that is actual choice and not just a downstream impact from built up or cumulative experience. You know,
Mm.
I guess that's my opinion about where choice can come from, whether on this end life is empty and meaningless, and it's empty and meaningless that is empty and meaningless, which is a phrase I get from Landmark Education. And, you know, life is the meaning of life is to grow, and the purpose of life is the expansion of happiness. And to do that, I need to be in the flow with my dharmic reality, my dharmic
Mm-hmm.
expression. You know, either way, it's going to come from, in my opinion, that matrix.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
how would you?
Yeah. I agree. There's
Mhm.
a level of that. I think that proper or a more holistic approach to it. And I think there's almost like micro steps that are happening in relationship
Mhm.
to that establishment of one knowing really where they're taking the choice from or the action from, whether it's something from the past or whatever, because like it's like a never ending cycle of untangling threads and being spending time to like, okay, this in order to sit down and make a decision and or choice, where I feel like some of these questions of like, hey, okay, let me see, what am I
Mhm.
willing to experience little difficulty for? Not in a sense that it's life is
Mhm.
difficult in that way, but in the sense that okay, it probably will require a certain level of discipline. It
Mhm.
probably will require a certain level of time, attention, and energy that's going to take for for me in order to pursue this action, whatever it is that if I don't even know it yet, but what's the closest thing or the closest thread, um, even if it's coming kind of like what you said, even if it's coming from,
Thoughts, feelings, and emotions,
yeah, but it's like,
which is not bad.
right, it's
You
the
you
next
use what you
best,
got to get what you need.
right, it's like the next best step, the
Yeah.
clearest next step that one can
Yeah.
see and or taste until maybe they taste it, they really give it its due, its proper due, and then like,
Yeah.
no, it's not it. And or maybe sometimes it opens ways to different, like it might go this way, and then it's like, oh, it's right here actually, and then this
Mm.
goes right there, and that goes right,
That's
you
going to
know,
always be the case.
right,
Each thing will have thousands of possibilities. The thing is, once you get on that possibility, not to sanctify, like, oh, I would have never thought this unless I did here, and now I see what God's big plan was because
yeah,
I made this mistake, and now I see can be done, and
mm-hmm,
this is what God has always meant.
mm-hmm,
That level of thinking
mm-hmm,
is a fallacy.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's
yeah,
kind of like convince yourself of anything.
yeah,
Like it's not.
yep,
Don't do Antoine. Do not do that to
yeah,
yourself.
like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be, and then something happens like, no, this is actually what I'm meant supposed
Yeah,
to be
and if
doing,
I
and then
hadn't
something,
did this and then this,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
that's not it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know
no,
what I
I
mean?
agree, yep,
And if it is good for you, let it be good for you. Let it
yeah,
be the thing, but don't just try and make it sanctified like, you know, holier than thou and
mm-hmm,
Jesus and God must have meant,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, I think
make
it's
your
like,
choice because you made your choice.
right, like the happening of it, right, the unfoldment of it
Mm-hmm.
is the it, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
Mm-hmm.
um yeah, yeah, which is like the weight
Yeah.
is on the experience and how
Yeah.
these things move.
The
um
problem is never the choice to me. You
mhm,
know what I mean? Like whatever we choose to do is to the capacity we have available to us to do it.
yeah,
The problem is the self-deception
mhm,
and calling a thing different than what it is and trying to like make it that's the issue. Like
yeah,
my own intentional self-deception
mhm,
and not being able to call it a thing.
mhm,
You know, if I'm choosing something, I'm choosing it.
yeah,
I don't need to like give it extra spiritual spice to make it like, you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Like I don't need to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and with myself.
Yeah.
I get to be real about it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
not about like I don't want to be led by emotions. I don't want to be led. I don't want to be nah, like if that's the way I see the world and how I can navigate, use it. And there are other tools
Mm-hmm.
and there are other aspects to
Yeah.
this mind body matrix that can be
Mm-hmm.
utilized. And it might be a place where the wholeness of it I can be completely aware of
Mm-hmm.
and then operate from there. It doesn't mean that, oh, because I'm completely moved by my thoughts, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm less than.
Right.
It's my capacity,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And or if the movement is moving towards wholeness or not,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that there isn't this kind of division that's taking place, that there is a proper position for the thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
there is a proper position for the emotions, there's proper position for the feelings,
Mm-hmm.
there's proper position for what the body is doing and all of
Mm-hmm.
these things.
Mm-hmm.
And that each is taking its quote unquote correct or whatever it is for that moment, correct space as far as what the experience and what the moment is um,
Yeah.
calling up
Yeah.
forth. It's, you know.
Or not being able to
Mm-hmm.
say it's not doing that. It's not taking the correct space for what the moments do. If I'm looking to whatever your goal might be, like if I'm looking to be in a relationship and I'm having behaviors and doing things that have the awareness to be able to call a thing, or if I'm looking to have a behavior with my diet,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's not correct that you downing like
No, I'm saying it moving towards that position,
what you mean.
meaning like the movement is towards a position where these things come into whatever proper proportion that is for the individual within their constitution, that the movement is in that direction rather
Okay.
than um, having the mind being completely uh,
In control of everything or something like
yeah, or like the heartbeat, you know what I'm saying, like the emotions being in control, like all of these things that are
you're saying like the person's intention regardless of what thing is loudest, have it go towards everything working in concert. That's what
right.
you're describing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when you said correct, you mean like that's the correct orientation.
Meaning like in that moment that the proper constitute or the proper proportion of things that are used are really proper to the moment itself, to what the experience is.
What you mean by that? Like, let's say drastic. If I'm a drug addict and my addiction is pulling me towards some drug like coke or something like that, how, what do you mean? How does that fit this scenario?
Meaning that in that scenario, the quote unquote proper proportion would be more on the body rather than how you're feeling about it or thinking about it, da, 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 da. Not necessarily to negate these things, right? But to like what is within these, whatever you call them,
Thing.
things, which one needs to fire up the most,
Oh, to
quote
be
unquote.
most dominant, to have maybe you not do that
Right.
or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I get what you're saying. So if you're not in this place where you're able to come from wholeness, or am I supposing that someone coming from wholeness is not on drugs? I don't know if that's even right thinking. But what you're describing is, regardless of it, if the body chemical reaction is like, oh, I want these so-called drugs or something like that, then some other aspect in you, maybe your thought life or your emotion, like, no, if I do this, this is gonna hurt my family. Maybe if you have the awareness to give that more power to have you not do this action, is that how you're describing it?
I would describe it as what state and or um, space does my body need to be in order to take it, quote unquote, off that addiction or whatever it is,
Got you.
right? So
Got
that
you.
the proportion would be not so much on the how I'm feeling about it and my emotions about it, even though these are necessary and they can play a role, and
Mm-hmm.
or uh, you know my devotion about it, this relationship with a higher thing plays a role in a lot of these things too.
Yeah.
um, but in that particular moment, in that particular example, okay, the body would need the higher capacity that needs to be looked at in that particular moment, right? So like each really being able to give each moment its proper due as far as what the
Yeah.
constitution and the proportions of which we're engaging with it,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
I agree. Like to do that, you need some capacity of awareness, of self-awareness.
Yeah,
You
yeah, that's
know?
what I'm saying. It's like at least hopefully the movement is towards that,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that if I'm constantly being run by my thoughts or constantly being run by my feelings and my emotions or constantly being run by my body
Mm-hmm.
and what it's asking me to do,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm like, oh, wait a second, there's some kind of imbalance that's
Yeah.
taking place. How
Yeah.
can I move it towards wholeness rather than towards division?
Yeah, this is the exact conversation I've been having with myself about nutrition and diet and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain nostalgia emotionally that comes with, some food that my mom might have cooked,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that like, oh, if I'm having a bad day, I'm feeling sad, I want to go to that food.
Yeah.
But that food is not the best for me. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it even tastes good, so it's going to fulfill me emotionally and fill my taste buds, but my body
Mm-hmm.
over time, if I keep eating like that, it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be destroyed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I have to do exactly what you're describing in those cases. Maybe the emotions and the chemical cocktail is heading in a direction
Mm-hmm.
that is not, and I need to figure out some sort of wholeness perspective or some other authority or power that can help me make a
Yeah.
different choice.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's thought life or something, and not to suppose that all these things aren't working together,
Right.
but sometime one is more dominant than
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
other.
It overshadows.
you
It
know
becomes the thing.
yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's going back to this. I think this is what that whole point of like, what are you willing to experience difficulty for and stuff like
Mm,
that, where hopefully if one is moving towards wholeness, one can answer this question in a way that is whatever wholeness in that particular moment may look like,
mm-hmm.
in order to like, okay, what is it that um that next step that may look
Yeah.
like, you know and I feel like, for me personally, the feeling of um something like fitting,
Mm-hmm.
right? um there's a distinct internal feeling to that phenomena
Mm-hmm.
of like, oh, like there like, oh, this is what I'm quote unquote supposed to do now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Of like, and there's a level of relaxation when that kind of like puzzle
Mm-hmm.
fits.
Mm-hmm.
Right now I can color it and
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, this is what God uh, created me for, and all of these things. And I often do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
maybe not necessarily in that language, but like a sense of what I often say is, I know the mood that God was in when it created me,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or when it birthed me. And that is kind of in that fitting, that puzzle, when it
Mm-hmm.
does that, there's a level of like, oh, and I can see how different coloring that can go on it, that coloring can be overwhelming or blinding to
Mm-hmm.
what is
Mm-hmm.
in reality, right? Um, and at the same time, that feeling of that fitting, I don't know what other word to use, like when things just click,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that clicking,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and what it does, that experience of itself, whatever, however it's manufactured in whatever
Mm-hmm.
way, is is real, like
Mm-hmm.
is experienced, and it's like referenced almost. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, there's that.
Mm-hmm.
So then other things within that domain, let's say, can be measured. That
Mm-hmm.
self-referential can be measured
Mm-hmm.
on that, if it clicks or not, if it's
Mm-hmm.
like fits or doesn't,
Got you.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of like trying a tailor suit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, how your body reacts in a particular way, your
Mm-hmm.
posture changes, everything changes, and then you put on another suit that you may think it's tailored, or somebody tells you, but you put it on, it's like, man, it's not a perfect fit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that. And the thing is like, continuing with the suit example, it's like the body changes, and then there's alteration that needs to take place for the suit.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with whatever that click or whatever that fitting, like,
Mm-hmm.
as one is evolving and or growing and moving in that direction, these things will move and grow and
Mm-hmm.
continue to go in that direction. If it becomes rigid,
Mm-hmm.
then it's no longer, then it's a cage for you and a cage for it, and it's like it's detrimental at that
Yeah.
point,
Mm-hmm.
because it doesn't allow for change, it doesn't allow,
Mm-hmm.
it just
Yeah,
becomes that.
I agree. I think that's what was it. This your card?
Yeah.
Yeah. What you just described
Hmm.
sounds like this again. This part, what you just said. The most immense danger is to live with a leaden heart. Always. Oh, the most immense danger is to live with a leaden heart. Is that leaden or leaden?
Or laden,
Laden heart. What does laden mean?
I don't know.
We didn't check to see.
Maybe we did, and I'm not sure.
Leaden.
Leaden.
Leaden is an adjective that means very heavy,
Oh,
like
like.
lead.
Hmm.
Dark gray in color, or slow and gloomy. Okay. The most immense danger is to live with a leaden heart, always on guard against being wounded, to make of the world an anxious projection, to remain asleep through the daybreak of possibility, never touching the great body of the unknown, sleeping alongside, never willing to take a chance on change, for the only heart that can be broken is the heart too ossified to open to the full range of feeling.
Hmm.
Sounds like what you're describing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. When maybe before closing, or maybe this can be the closing. Um, one way to kind of put a bow tie, I guess, or a
Mm-hmm.
bow, a bow around the 4 weeks of discussion, or 5 weeks, right? Is this distinction between burden, responsibility, and a calling?
Mm-hmm.
Um, if calling is something that we're also considering. That is saying that a burden can feel like, or a burden would say, this is heavy.
Mm-hmm.
A responsibility says, this is mine.
Mm.
And a calling says, this is mine, and I understand why I'm willing to carry it.
Mm. Wow, that's beautiful.
Hmm.
Wow. Can you send me that when you get a chance?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, you know, part of, and maybe a lot of what we discussed in the last 5 weeks is creating the space and or the ground of which one can experience life consciously and have enough space to make decisions as conscious as they can possibly make in that particular moment.
Yeah.
And being in that space and being standing on that ground, on that bit of solid ground, hopefully, can provide a perspective and
Mm-hmm.
or a point of view
Mm-hmm.
that one can discern or one can see what burdens is there to carry,
Mm-hmm.
what responsibilities they are consciously choosing to choose and to carry, and if any, whatever point, which point of them, of these responsibilities and obligations,
Mm-hmm.
can maybe possibly, if they ever so choose, make a calling, a north star of which their life is oriented towards consciously taking the decisions um, to move
Yeah.
forward in that way. Um, and at the same time, we spoke a lot about, you know, that the cost of awakening is not necessarily not feeling certain emotions or avoiding this or avoiding that, but really just being immersed and being available to the wide range of emotions and feelings,
Mm-hmm.
and the wide range of which reality is reflecting to you in that particular moment, and the capacity of which one can perceive, engage with, and act in a way that hopefully is coming from a movement of wholeness rather than division
Mm-hmm.
and fragmentation.
Yeah.
Mm, what else did we touch on? I mean, we touched.
Spiritual bypassing, which I guess is what you just described.
Mm-hmm,
Being able to do that is really the safeguard against spiritual bypassing.
mm-hmm,
Mm. And we spoke about gravity in terms of like the weight
right.
of this kind of life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that gravity. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Like that gravity, in a way, brings some level of orientation,
Mm-hmm.
right? The same thing it does to plants.
Mm-hmm.
Brings some level of orientation to where growth
Mm-hmm.
might
Yeah.
might be, in what direction growth may look like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
Beautifully expressed, bro. Beautiful recap.
Thank you. Thank
Mm-hmm.
you. And a lot of what we spoke about here is spoke about in more detail, or I guess more nuance, or different ways of expressing the same things, because that's really what is happening. It's like coming at it from different perspectives and
Mm-hmm.
different point of views, talking about the same thing, talking about closing that gap between this inner reality, this inner experience that's happening, this inner architecture that's
Mm-hmm.
taking place, this consciousness, whatever, this awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and conduct and action and how it manifests in our day to day life. All of that, we kind of talk more in nuance and different ways, using poetry and metaphor and coming from different traditions and whatever, in our school community,
Mm-hmm.
The Diary of a Mystic,
Yes.
which you can find the description um, below, um, and how to join. You can feel free to be part of that community, and the practice of self reckoning, which is
Mm-hmm.
really all in all kind of the way of looking at asking these questions themselves, right?
Yeah.
And seeing uh, how am I sitting with myself
Mm-hmm.
when no one's watching and when everybody's watching, and in all the ways, right? This is all part of that self-reckoning, self-accounting,
Mm-hmm.
um, and part of ways that
Mm.
allows for polishing of the heart, that allows for uh, hopefully an experience of reality that is maybe a step closer to its realness than
Yeah.
what our conditions made us believe.
Facts.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree, bro.
absolutely. Until next Friday, when we come back again for another live, God willing, stay blessed. Check out our school community. Join us. Join the conversation behind the scene.
I'll tell them about the
And
book club.
oh, and the book club, which is happening August
Six.
26th, where we will discuss Sufism and Taoism. Um, and more specifically, a section in it that's talking about the insan al-kamil, or the whole human being, or the perfected human being, which in part, a lot of what we read in these cards is
Yes.
really a description of that, or description of the child of the moment. um, and that's, yeah, August 26th,
Yeah.
Wednesday, 8 p.m.
Yeah.
Eastern time.
Did you want to say something about roots and remembrance and stuff like that?
Yes. And a dhikr retreat, which is a retreat of remembrance that's taking place on September 18th to the 20th in Massachusetts, where we'll come together, practice dhikr, which is the dhikr, the practice of remembrance, of experiencing um, presence in a way that move from us being in a state of remembrance of the divine mystery to being remembered by the divine mystery, and being in a space where that can be played with, tasted. Um, it will be September 18th to the 20th. There will be food there, lodging. It's a small, intimate space, 15 people maximum. There will be music, there will be chanting, there will be reflection, all of these things happening in person, um, which has a different flavor than doing things online, and it's
Mm.
kind of going in that direction, and tasting things and playing around with things. So if you want to learn more about that, also check out our link tree in the bio as well. There's a lot more detail
Awesome.
on that stuff.
And then on August 17th,
What's happening?
Assembly of Lovers.
Oh yeah. I guess you can find all the stuff in the link tree with all the events and
Yeah.
stuff that are happening. Assembly of Lovers is actually something that we meet every other Monday, um, and it is a dhikr practice. Really, it's a practice of remembrance, um, drumming and chanting, and being open and receptive to presence and to the moment. So there's a level of it that's um, somatic, I guess, because your body's really being involved. Level of it that is, there's the drum that's taking place. There's music that takes place in that as well, and that is August 17th, in 3 days, on Monday, in Montclair, New Jersey,
At the space.
at the space.
Shout out to Nas in the
Shout out,
space.
shout out to Nosley. Yes. Um, yeah, that's that.
Yes.
All this stuff will be in the description below.
Including our hidden treasure newsletter you can
Yeah.
sign up for.
Yes, all of it. So much love. Next week, we'll see what the topic will be, but I guess we'll figure out next week, God willing, on
Probably
Friday.
something to do with consciousness.
I would think so, right? Or everything is one,
Ah.
or transcendence. Pretty sure. So much love.
Peace.
We'll see you next Friday.
Good job, bro.